How are you today? Were you able to improve the sword material? Because today we're stepping into a completely different world, the world of lighting. So today we're bringing back a previous project where we created human skin material, but this time we're taking it to a whole new level. We're giving it a cinematic touch. First, let's set up the necessary setup to make our workflow smoother and faster. We'll need 4 3D viewport windows. 3 of them will display the model from different angles, Z from the top, X from the right, and Y from the front, giving us a complete perspective for precise control. The 4th window will be dedicated to render view, where we'll see the actual impact of the lighting on the scene. The great thing about arranging the windows this way is that when moving objects, the transformation is restricted to the selected axis only. Now, let's add a camera. It's the key element that will define how our final scene looks. Rotate the camera on the x-axis by 90 degrees. Switch the view in the render view window to the camera so we can see the scene exactly as it will appear. Move the camera upward along the z-axis. Move the camera backward along the y-axis. Adjust the field of view to achieve the desired cinematic composition. Let's go to camera data, then to viewport display. Increase the passepartout value to 1, making the outer frame darker and focusing entirely on the camera view. Go to focal length and increase the value to 85 to achieve a more cinematic shot. Move the camera slightly backward. That looks good. Now we'll create a duplicate of the camera, but this time from the right angle to capture a different perspective and add variety to our shots. Now we move on to the main element of the day, lighting. The first type we'll explore is point light. It is a light source that emits in all directions from a single point, like a light bulb, great for adding soft or sharp lighting depending on its intensity and distance. So let's create the simplest lighting setup. First, we'll place the cursor at the center of the object to ensure precise light positioning. Select the object, then use the shortcut Shift+S and choose Cursor to Selection. Make sure the transform pivot point is set to 3D cursor to ensure that any transformations are centered around the cursor's position. Now we can move the light freely. We'll position it slightly above the head. Then we move the light slightly away from the head, positioning it midway between the X and Y axes, ensuring a well-balanced light distribution on the face. Slightly raise the light power higher. Next, we increase the radius slightly to make the lighting softer and more evenly distributed. Conversely, the smaller it is, the sharper the light and the stronger the shadows. Duplicate the light, move it slightly backward and to the right, then reduce the radius to create a subtle highlight that adds a nice touch to the scene. Create another duplicate light behind the head, but this time on the left side, adding more balance. Slightly increase the radius to allow the light to gradually wrap around the back of the head. Slightly increase the highlight light intensity, for example, to 40. Adjust the light color to a more natural tone, somewhere between blue, red, and yellow, but in a very light shade, making it closer to skin tone for a warm and realistic effect. For lighting in an icy environment, blue light is the ideal choice, as it conveys coldness and serenity, making the scene look more realistic and cohesive with the snowy atmosphere. Anyway, this is the simplest and most commonly used lighting setup with small tweaks that make us move on to the second type of light, area light. Unlike point light, area light emits light in a single direction, making it much easier to control and position. It can be used to simulate TV or window lighting, adding realism and beautiful contrast to the scene. Let's repeat the same steps but with area light so we can observe the difference in light diffusion and shadow softness compared to point light. think the difference is clear now. Point light excels in light distribution, while area light offers better control over direction and intensity. That's why combining both is the key to achieving professional and balanced lighting. Now, let's move on to some common lighting effects, starting with the aura effect in the background, which adds dramatic depth and helps separate the subject from the background in an appealing way. It's simple to create. The first step is to add a background so the lighting stands out and creates the desired effect. Add a point light and move it behind the head, close to the background, positioning it at the center of the camera angle. Of course, you can adjust the halo color to match the environment and overall mood of the scene, whether warm for a cinematic feel or cool for added depth and mystery. Now we move on to the second effect, the highlight, which is used to emphasize the edges of the subject and add a sense of depth and separation from the background. Add an area light. Move it upwards. Then rotate it to the right and finally slightly push it backward, creating a soft side light that enhances the highlight effect. Change the light color to blue. Duplicate the light in the opposite direction, but this time in orange, creating a dynamic contrast between the cool blue light and the warm orange light, adding a cinematic and visually appealing effect to the scene. Add the usual setup of point light to illuminate the entire scene, ensuring a balanced light distribution and seamlessly complementing the highlight and halo effects. Now we adjust the colors to match the skin tone. And just like that, we have our first cinematic shot of the day. With proper lighting distribution and color adjustments, we've achieved a professional and visually striking scene. Now we move on to the second step of the day, which follows the same setup but with changes in colors and light directions, creating a completely different mood for the scene. First, let's add some blue to the scene. Use a point light slightly above the forehead and forward, adding a soft light on the face. Increase the radius for a softer and more diffused light, then change the color to blue. Create a new light duplicate, but this time with a darker blue tone. A smaller radius for a more focused light, and increased intensity to add stronger contrast. Perfect! This setup is just right for the next lighting step, side highlight. Create a side highlight using the same setup as before, but this time positioned on the sides instead of the back. Add an area light. Raise it slightly above the head. Rotate it 90 degrees on the Y-axis. Increase the scale of the area light along the Z-axis to match the object's scale. Then reduce the size of the area light along the Y-axis, positioning it slightly behind the eye. Change the area light color to a deep red. Duplicate the area light and rotate it 180 degrees on the Z-axis, creating a balanced lighting setup. Move the duplicated light slightly downward on the Z-axis, adding a low-angle light that highlights the object's features from below. To blend the red and blue colors harmoniously, we need a focused light at their intersection. When it comes to focused lighting, the best choice is area light. Add 2 area lights on both sides. increase the light intensity on the side, we want to be noticed first. Increase the intensity of the blue point light over the white light, ensuring its presence remains noticeable and doesn't fade into the surrounding illumination. With this approach, we've successfully lit the scene while maintaining the intended atmosphere and color balance. Let's add a halo in the background. I think we've broken some of the ice around lighting. So far, we've observed how changing the lighting angle affects the overall mood of the scene. Adjusting the direction of light can evoke different emotions. Some angles create a sense of anger and tension, while others add a mysterious and intriguing feel. We also noticed that colors play a major role in conveying emotions. Yellow and red lighting create a warm and cozy feeling, while blue lighting gives a cold and mysterious atmosphere. On the other hand, green and purple lights add a fantastical and dreamy touch. And let's not forget the stars of the show, point light and area light. While both are light sources, adjusting their focus and direction allows for endless variations in cinematic effects. And in the end, we achieve that unique shot that perfectly blends lighting, colors, and cinematic mood. You'll find the model in the description. Try experimenting with different lighting setups to create various emotions. Now sit back and fasten your seatbelt because we're about to combine everything for an even more stunning shot. Yup, this is exactly how I imagined the scene. As an extra tip, if you want to brighten up your scene, you can always add the first setup to your current one. However, you might need to lower the light intensity or use fewer point lights to maintain the perfect balance. And that's a wrap for today's episode. Let me know which part you enjoyed the most. Next time, we'll be diving into an exciting blend of lighting and compositing, so get ready for a whole new level of creativity. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you won't miss the upcoming episodes. See you soon.